So Joe, you know how I love sigils, like drawing sigils?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, I'm talking about. Yeah, you were with me when I drew that one sigil that like a little guy, like a little like red guy came out of. He died right away, but like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but he said blood.
He did. So yeah, I mean, like I don't think I've talked about it on the show before. But yeah, I love sigils. I'm bringing it up because I'm drawing one right now. So you know how I've always had trouble with the void sigil of 1,000 gibbering sufferers.
Yeah, it's always been kind of a weakness.
Yeah. I've been like trying to draw it for ages and ages. So here, actually, I'm not done with it yet. I haven't actually completed the pentagram around the goat carcass. But here's what I did differently this time, and let me know what you think. So normally, I use ash of a sacred tree that I've burned down to make the ink. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is standard. Joe has heard me talk about this fucking sacred tree so many times. But Joe, what I've done this time is I've put my blood into the ink as well. I think this is gonna do it. Let me try. I'm actually about to draw the last part of the sigil right now. Let me just do that. And oh shit, we're glowing. Oh, fuck. No, not again.
I have been given flesh once again, a mortal form. I'm freed from the hell dimension.
Oh, it's the devil. It's the devil.
Yes.
I'm glad.
Joe Anderson, is that you?
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite tormentee. How are you? Bad, I hope.
Yeah, see, this is pretty cool because normally you don't directly sort of confront me with this. Like, normally you'll just make me, like, I don't know, piss blood, and then the blood will, like, be a message when I try to flush it. It's like, this is a face-to-face thing. And my first really, I only got the one question. It's the first and last one, which is, like, why me?
Oh, that's an excellent question, Joseph, and it just goes to show why I write to choose you. You see, so many people that I inflict horrible suffering on, they don't have the sort of capacity, the self-reflective talent to look upon what has been wrought on them and feel the pain of what they've lost. Whereas you, Joseph, oh my word, the way that you look upon your pains and feel them anew as though they were just inflicted every time you think upon them. My God, I tell you what, it's fucking funny, dude. I just laugh again and again.
Evil Frasier is what's happening. Well, then I guess in the face of your relentless torment, I'm just gonna have to remind myself that, like, these things that I feel, you know, like the feeling of being alone in a crowd, or just like the feeling of never being confident enough to sort of justify your own actions. Like, these are things that everyone goes through. These are feelings that everyone has, right? Like, there's nothing special about that.
Who told you? Did your therapist tell you that?
Yeah.
Oh, they're very wrong, I gotta say. No. That is you. You have a very special version of them. That's me, personally, the devil, Satan. I'm doing that to you as a joke that I find great. If anyone else had experienced even one moment of the pain that you've been dealt by me every day, they would immediately lose their minds and understand how foolish they were to ever consider these kinds of pains universal. No, you're in it alone. I'm doing it to you, specifically.
Oh, so I'm the only person with imposter syndrome?
Yes, I mean, other people have it, but, like, it's fake for them. You're really an imposter.
Yeah, okay. That's fucking funny.
Hello everyone, I'm back in control of my body. I've banished the devil. I do have a second horn now. I can't make them go away. It's awful. Also, I'm turning red. Anyway, this is Anime Sickos, the podcast for geniuses and the only podcast where we look at the 4 pillars of modern misery: anime, gaming, posting, and jobs. I am Tom, an anime sicko.
I'm Joe, an anime sicko.
Today, well, you know what we're going to do, Joe? We're going to talk about fucking manga. Is that cool? Can we do that? That's allowed, right?
Yeah.
What are you even reading? Tell me. Go first.
So first of all, we're going to do kind of a manga roundup. And the first thing I want to address is you got to read these suckers right to left.
Oh, did you just figure that out? That's a bad.
Yeah.
That's okay. All manga readers, after a couple of years, hit this roadblock, and they realize they make a breakthrough, and they're like, it's supposed to be the other way. Oh my god! Now I get it. This is why I was wondering why Goku kept getting weaker.
Yeah. Why is all the baby fat coming back? This is strange.
Saiyan's age funny.
Right now, the thing I'm reading week to week, as in like the thing I bang my knife and fork on the table for every week, like stupidly refreshing the iPad so someone else can finish translating it, effectively stealing it, and then putting it on my iPad.
Yeah.
And that's going to be Kengan Omega. And we've sung the praises of Kengan Ashura before. It's not as good as Kengan Ashura. I'm objectively... I'm confident in this measure. It's currently, though, the only thing that has, like, a fucking rad fight that's always going down.
Well, like, here, the thing about Kengan Omega is that, like, I agree with you that it's not as good. I'm not caught up for reasons we'll get into. But, like, there's a character who, like, very famously died in Ashura, who's like alive in Omega, and there's like, how come you didn't die? He's like, I just faked it. I faked it for a joke. And it's like, this is the worst thing I ever read. But like, when you have fights like that, like Kengan Omega has, like, the other pages that aren't fights could just be like math homework that you have to do, or else like the page won't turn. And I'd still read it. Yes,
but the parts in Ashura that were like describing the factions and like what the electric company actually wanted and why they should seek similar enemies with the fishery, those should have just been math problems. Like, don't show me that shit.
I mean, what is it trying to say? Like, business deals are almost as much of a fight as martial arts battles. No, they're not. No, they're freaking not. I'm sorry. No.
No. They need some panels that you can draw from like a medium distance that aren't super detailed. And in Kengan Ashura, there's a lot of bodyguards and suits and that sort of thing to kind of fill up pages. You could remove a lot of the theatrics from the paneling that had all the behind the scenes fight rigging and whatever in Ashura, and it wouldn't be that much of a loss.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about Omega is, I mean, it is a tournament, right, Tom?
Yeah, so here's where I was the last time I read it. So you're much farther away from this. The Kengan Association is the fighting association that we have followed this whole time. And we like it, apparently. Like, it's still, like, a very corrupt society that, like, makes the world worse. But it also is the reason that I've seen a bunch of cool fights. So I love it. And then there's this other fighting association called Purgatory, which is like just as big. It's owned by a millionaire who has goat eyes. He has the wide, flat pupils like a goat. That's never explained.
I think that's because that's how the artist draws Americans. They think we have goat eyes.
Okay, that makes sense. We do, actually, now that I think about it. So there's going to be a tournament where it's 13 Kengan guys versus 13 Purgatory guys. And the protagonist is not one of the 13 Kengan guys in the tournament.
They spend a lot of time really getting... We get invested in a new character that is really set up to be a protagonist. Like, he's sort of like, oh, I'm a gifted karate guy, but like, I don't know that there's underground fights where people do dark judo or fucking whatever.
Yeah, his thing is like, I'm a karate guy and I've reached my limit, and that means that I'm done. It's like, oh, buddy, I don't think you know this, but limits are meant to be exceeded.
Yes, and it's not like this character is just sort of like one of those inserts who's like, this sure is crazy. Tell me everything about what's going on. Because like the character is actually well developed. And he just sort of gets abandoned. It's like imagine, honestly, the first arc of Dragon Ball where Krillin and Goku train with Roshi.
Yeah.
And then it's time for the tournament. And they're like, are you ready? And they're like, yeah. Well, here's 2 tickets to watch the fights.
Fuck you. God damn.
It's really fucking stupid. But like the thing is, because it's Kengan Omega, there are cool guys, of course. And the other issue that's happening, that I think takes away from it, is we're getting away from the correct way to do tournaments, which is a big fucking bracket with upsets and stuff. And the rules are now, frankly, the bullshit of the first side to get 7 wins is the winner.
Oh, boo. Boo. Oh, fuck. This is the same thing that happened with Record of Ragnarok, where it's just like, are you kidding me? You fucked over your series from the beginning. Because the best part is when you see one awesome guy win a fight that you love and another awesome guy win a fight that you love, and then you're like, now they are fighting? Whoa. This can't happen.
It changes the dynamic, and also you don't know how many fucking fights you're going to see, which has plot implications. The thing that fucking whips about Kengan Ashura is you see the big board of names, and like, regardless of the political stuff that happens or like what the winners are, you are seeing these fights. They're going to occur. And most of those guys are going to lose, and they're still going to be cool.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know if everyone's going to get to fight. And the reason, the thing that is really scaring me is the first guy to fight the Fang in Kengan Ashura, who's like the UFC guy, who's just like, I am the all-rounded martial artist. I am just like a technical guy. And it was a cool fight. Well, he's back for this thing. And he's dressed like a clown. And it has not been established why he's dressed as a clown. And no one has asked him why he's a clown.
Also, when he first shows up and he like comes back to Japan from like a trip, and they're like, hey, there's this tournament. Do you want to be involved? We know you're a great fighter. I know you lost in the first round before, but that was, just because you had a bad seed. Like, you're great. You're really good. He's like, I'd love to be part of the fight. I've trained and I'm better now. He's not in a clown suit then. He's like really normal then.
Yeah, he got, like, he knew no one knew why he would be a clown. Like, he was, I'm going to really shock the fellas, was his plan. But, like, no one asked him why it was. And, like, I'm getting, like, I need to know. This is 100% the fucking Detroiters episode where it's like, you better throw a pie, dude.
You're a clown. There's a fucking table full of pies, and the lady's like, hey, I made those pies for everyone. I put a lot of work into them. And it's like, sorry, lady, these pies are flying by the end of the night.
Yeah, and also I would like to change my name. I will now fight under Dr. Bones.
Okay, and also during this, there's like the subplot of like the Worm, which is this secret society that's replacing people with identical clones.
Yeah.
And
if I have one critique for Kengan Omega, it's that it doesn't need clone plot stuff.
Yeah,
I hate things that involve clones and deceptions, because I hate reading a narrative when it's established that yes, there are like imposters among them, because like it's just like, if everything a fucking lie, like, is everyone going to be like, ha, in fact, I am the worm, which is what happens.
Yeah. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, or if it's spoilers, I guess you don't want to say, but like all of the worm imposters are like new guys. Because like one of the big strengths of Kengan Omega is that it can just drop an Ashura character in there and you immediately pop. You hoot like an animal and you go ook ook because it's your old buddy now again back. And then also, in addition to that, there's like brand new guys if you've never heard of before. If a brand new guy I've never heard of before turns out to be an imposter, well, it's like, well, okay, I never met the original one, apparently, so I don't care. Can the imposter please do a cool fight?
That they did that shit. I think they've now done it twice in this Omega series. It just happened, which it was a the guy who's like the Punisher. He's like the Riot Shield cop guy.
Yeah, he sucks ass. I hate that guy.
Yeah. So he's like,
on purpose. He's supposed to be hated.
Yeah, he's like, I will punish all evil. He's like the Punisher, but also if the Punisher used Batman's rules.
Yeah. And also the Punisher was like, the one who needs punishing most of all is myself for doing all this illegal punishing.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely like a self-flagellation pervert element to that. Anyway, he's in a fight with this little French guy who, like, it's a really cool fight because the little French guy, every time he hits you, his arm like goes offline because he's hitting directly the nerves. So it's this really neat fight where the way it's drawn, like this huge, bulky Riot Shield guy's like arm like goes away. Like they show it like coming offline because like his nerves are fucked up. And there's all this cool stuff happening because there's a huge size difference. Mm-hmm. And within this, you know how they do like the little cutaways to like the background. During this fight, they established that this person is like an imposter of this other crazy French murder legion guy. And like I wasn't even invested in like the first guy's identity enough to like be wowed by this magic trick. And all it did was take away from what I was seeing, which was a little guy knew how to poke right, and he made the guy fall down. And like the way it's drawn is so cool because anytime someone gets hit in this fucking comic, it's like, oh, this sucks. Like, this is violent.
Yeah.
And, like, seeing him poke the Riot Shield guy, like, directly in the sternum so his legs stop working, it's incredible.
That sounds fucking good, dude. Yeah, Kengan really does. Like, there's a lot of manga and anime where, like, a single punch is just, like, doing 1 damage to a health bar. Like, Goku can, like, hit Frieza with, like, a flurry of 1,000 punches, and Frieza will just be like, I'm pretty strong, I guess, and then, like, do something else. If you get hit in the face in Kengan, Ashura, or Omega, it's like, oh, no.
I'm actually really glad you said that, because currently my favorite fight that is happening is between like a Chinese martial artist guy who is, I think, a member of the Worm, probably. I don't know. The point is, he's a purgatory guy, and a Sambist who's like a guy who just wants to be an author.
Oh yeah. His fucking Nitoku. He's one of my favorite characters. Can I give the gist?
Yeah.
So this is a guy. He's in the great Sickos tradition of an anime character who just like hates his job. Except in this case, his job is fighting. He's like an incredible fighter, but he's done like very, very few Kengan matches because what he really wants to be is a fiction writer. But he sucks utter shit at it. Our idiot himbo protagonist, who's like 19 years old and like only thinks about Monster Energy, like reads one of his manuscripts and it's like, this is very underdeveloped, and you put a lot of exposition dumped right at the beginning that's not very compelling, and he's just like, what are you talking about? Shut up, don't look at my manuscript, fuck you. So he will just write novels that don't sell until he loses all of his money, and then he'll do one Kengan match and get his nest egg back by winning, and then repeat endlessly. He's the best.
He's really good. And the thing you just said, which is how every punch feels like something. The counter example is like Frieza gets punched 100 times, it doesn't matter. The fight with the book nerd, what's currently happening is he practices Samba, which is sort of like a throwing Russian martial arts. And the thing is, he's getting hit so he can get these grabs on. And like the fact that he is like tanking these hits so he can get these grabs and throw him with like devastating implications is like they capture that really well. That like this is a choice. Like you take a hit like on the chin so you can grab the guy, and that like tactical choice actually feels like, oh yeah, he's getting his ass kicked to do this.
There's one panel that you described to me that was fucking hilarious where he got hit and what did he say? He said some funny shit.
Yeah, like he's just basically got his ass kicked a bunch of times. He's like, my insides feel like they're turning out. This sucks. I've never been in more pain in my life. I'm gonna throw you now. Something to that effect, and I just really liked it. Because like, I just like that his thing is like, I will just stand up again.
Yeah.
Like I will just eat shit until I can throw you. Like if Zombie Man kind of knew how to fight.
I love it.
Yeah. So I know we just talked about some fighting comics, but would you believe that there are more?
Yeah, I would. Fighting rules. It's so fun to draw, and it's cooler drawn than it is in real life. Because if you've seen real fighting, it kind of sucks.
It does. And this is a realistic manga I'm about to talk about because it does kind of suck.
Oh no.
I started reading Shamo.
Shamo.
Or Shamo. Shamo. It's basically it's a seinen manga about karate, but the main character is like an unrepentant like criminal, and like it's like the dark cringe sort of just like, oh, everything is violent and for the sake of violence and whatever.
Yeah. This isn't for kids, man. There's blood. There's goop.
Yeah.
When I get punched, goop comes out.
Yeah. So it starts off with him being put in a juvenile detention center that's like on the moon. Like it's not actually, but like it's like where the bad kids go.
Yeah. It's like the super prison for maniacs.
Yeah, and why did he go here? Well, he killed his parents, and it's not clear like why it happened or whatever. So the first thing that happens is the kids are like, "You're a parent murderer. We're gonna like kill you." So obviously it starts with him getting like there's sexual violence right at the start. It's like they're really doing the we're getting the Japan treatment here. And anyway, and what causes him to become a fighter is that on this prison they have to have gym class, and gym class is taught by this old man. They bring in handcuffs because he's obviously a karate master.
His hands are weapons. His hands are deadly weapons.
This old guy obviously sees this person as a freakish murderer and is like, this is gonna be fun, let's teach this kid karate. So eventually he like kicks a bunch of people's asses. The fights initially are like really brutal in the sense that he's not like a big guy, so one of the big standoffs that happens between him and another quote-unquote inmate, which is like an adult pretending to be a kid, so he could break any kid that was like needed to be brought down, basically. He has both his arms disabled. I'm talking about our protagonist, Rio, and it's just like, what's he going to do? He kicks the guy like in the face to bring him down to his knees, and it's like, oh, he's going to kick him again because he's right at kick level. And he just bites off his fucking nose.
Fuck! Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, it's not like, I don't think it's good, but it did make me laugh in several parts. And the thing that really, really, like, I couldn't handle what I was seeing is, so after he's released from super fight prison, the way he makes his money is he, like, beats people up for the Yakuza, and also he, like, is a expensive male prostitute because he fucks so good. No, I'm not. But I want to establish that, like, everyone thinks like this character, even like the fellow criminals, think he's like a disgusting character. So it's not uncommon for like people to be talking to Ryu and telling him like why he's garbage or whatever. But by far, like the thing in the fiction where a character like really was like, you're a disgusting piece of shit, I can't believe you would do this. It occurs after he eats pussy.
Their pussy?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
I thought it was a second, like a third party. Like Rio eats pussy, goes and finds a guy, and the guy's like, I think you suck. Okay.
No, it's the woman who's like, I can't believe you would do this, and it's like, what is happening here? Yeah,
can't
I know.
He would eat pussy, or can't believe he would like be a disgusting criminal.
You're the lowest of the low because you're doing it for money. Like it's very like, I want to be clear like how much murder happens, and like this is like the thing they're like, you sick fuck.
This is so dumb.
It is dumb. He gets his ass kicked, and it does sort of like the time skip thing where he's clearly in mainland Asia fighting for money and like an underground fighting thing, kind of like a Kengan Omega thing, but like clearly the stakes aren't high. It's just like a bunch of freaks wanting to see other freaks fight.
Yeah, it's not like this is how corporations decide their mergers based on the outcomes of the fight. It's more like, hey, we got fighting guys in a hole. Is that cool?
Yeah, we're gonna chain them together, and they gotta fight. And one of these fights, and the fights don't matter. It's just establishing that this is dangerous whenever, and it shows that he's like still he knows all his dark karate moves. It's this fight where he's chained at the arm to another guy at the arm, and the other guy is much larger, and the fight is like honestly really good. And I'm saying that because Kengan Omega's like movement is incredible. There is like very little movement captured in this. Every kick is just like a leg next to another leg, or like a close up at a karate sleeve. Like it's not exciting shit, but this fight's pretty good. And the reason it abruptly ends is because our hero just like reaches down and crushes the other guy's balls, and then like he's just standing there in like a pile of blood, and it's just like, oh. And I was like, well, that's fucked up. And then that manga proceeds to say the funniest thing that I've ever read, which is like the guy who runs the big top where all these people fight. He's like, hey, stop winning like that so much.
We know this is a no holds barred dark karate fight pit where anything goes, but like, cool with that ball shit, dude.
Yeah, I was really losing interest here. I was like, all right, I'm done. And the reason I kept reading is the next guy that shows up is Son Goku.
What?
Yeah, like in this like weird fight ring for whatever reason, there's just like a guy in a monkey mask who's like, I'm Son Goku, and he just like breaks people. And then it like becomes like this like training montage where he has to learn like the Chinese sort of martial arts so he can attack people's like chi directly and a bunch of other bullshit that sucks. But the point is, there was a guy who was named Son Goku. Yeah, and then he took off his mask and it wasn't actually like Goku under it. So it's whatever.
Yeah, that's when you drop the series. What I thought you were gonna say is that the next guy who shows up is like, this fighter has no balls. They already got crushed, and Rio was like, "Oh no!"
Oh, that would have been like a good rematch. Like he goes to do it and it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like someone already did that to me. I've been fighting dark karate for a long time. That happens to all of us. It's gonna happen to you. And then you won't be the best at sex anymore. So wait, okay. Is it found out like fucking the Name of the Wind sequel where the hero goes to fairy fuckland and everyone's like, don't go to fairy fuckland. The queen of fuck who invented sex and is an immortal sex fairy will fuck you so good that you'll like forget to drink and eat and die and you'll be trapped there. And then our protagonist, who's like, to be clear, a 16-year-old virgin, goes and finds the fairy fuck queen who invented sex. Sex is just an extension of her, rather. She is sex, and it all came from her. And he fucks her, and she's like, damn, you better at this than I am. Wow, incredible. Is it like that?
It would be so much cooler if they established like why he's good at sex, as opposed to everyone just being like, wow. It's really not great. I would love if there was a weird sex fantasy dimension, but no, it's just bullshit.
Huh. Yeah. Sounds kind of dumb, but I can see why it was good for a limited read. Anything else on your docket lately?
So I haven't gotten too much into this, but I actually, from friend of the show, Vizsla, had a like list of stuff he's been reading, and I have not read too much gambling manga. Mm-hmm. Have you, Tom?
I have not read any gambling manga. I have watched a bit of Kaiji Ultimate Survivor, which is a gambling anime. I had to stop that because it was stressing me out too much. Because
that's like when people are like, I will gamble the distance between my brain and this drill.
Yeah, I mean, what it is like debt slaves, people who are in debt to the Yakuza that they can never pay off, are basically enslaved, kidnapped, and made to gamble like forever until they pay off their debt, except it's impossible for them to pay off their debt because all of the games are insane rigged. It's not like they're playing blackjack. They're playing like insane rigged games that are like impossible to figure out, except our hero is able to figure them out. Except sometimes he's not. And like the first game is like this weird rock paper scissors game where they're like you have to use cards and there's like a finite amount of cards and you can like trade them, but I don't know, like it might be like you can only trade them sight unseen. And if you like don't have any scissors, then you just can't throw scissors, and people know that. And if you lose, you just get taken to another room on the boat and never seen from again. And I'm just like, I can't handle this shit. So that's how much gambling manga I've read.
I've been reading Usogui, which is Usogui.
Yeah, no one yell at Joe. He spelled it.
Yeah, I said the letters. And look, it's honestly just more of that shit you just kind of said, which is a high stakes gambling. In this, you know what? As I'm saying this, and now I'm speaking, and I'm realizing I'm just a sucker for any sort of like fiction where there's like there is an extra legal entity that is in control of blank, and they make sure all the blank happens.
Hey, you know how in real life blank isn't that interesting? Well, I invented a thing that makes sure it's really cool. It's above the law and can't be violated.
Yeah, so there is this thing called Kokoro, which is a gambling club for people who are gambling freaks, I guess. And the whole premise here is like, well, if you know a billionaire gambles, and they're like, I bet, haha, my life, whatever, and then they lose, and they're like, well, come and get it, losers. I'm rich, you can't stop me. That's true, right? Like that means people who have all these resources can gamble sort of like without repercussions after a certain point.
By which you mean like they're so rich that like any attempt to collect would just be like, they'd just be like, fuck you, I have a private army. No.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Or powers of basically the state, or whatever. Just huge,
like
huge.
Like if the president's like, I bet the presidency, and he loses, and they're like, well, you can't like have it. I was joking.
Yes. So what Club Kokoro is, this organization that's run by killer butlers.
Hell yes, I love it already.
And all these guys are like game masters. So like when you do another big high stakes bet with another gambling freak, like these game masters show up and they sit there and they like monitor the game, and because they're like killer butlers, they can do it. Like they show like the insane kung fu fighting these guys do. They're like Dragon Ball guys. So that also establishes that like the sanctity of the game is observed. So like if you're like, I choose to gamble my life in a game of Old Maid where we're also playing Hangman, which is like one of the first big bets, and I'm like, this is a lot of stuff.
So what they'll kill you if you lose.
If that was the conditions of the game, then yes.
Oh, this kicks ass. I love these guys.
What they do a really good job establishing very early on, because it's insane, is just like the butlers, like they will monitor the game in the sense that like what is established at the start of the game will be enforced, but they don't say anything about any cheating or anything that happens that's not in violation of that. So a huge part of this is our main guy, who's Madarame Baku, which I guess he's known in this organization as like the Lie Eater. His whole thing,
of course, he fucking is.
It kicks ass. And his thing is like he was a member of this organization and he lost his membership. And the way they show like what power this organization has is like the bet he did in his former glories was like, I bet you that a plane will fly over here in whatever in like the next minute, and like he had like the entire world like set up to like just send planes everywhere. And then the guy he bet was like, I take that bet, let's begin. And not a single plane flew over because he just stopped it. Like, this is like the guy, he's like the people they're dealing with. Anyway, he's back, and this first big bet is this old maid hangman game. And the way the other guy is cheating, are you ready for anime shit?
Yes, give me.
His eyes have been replaced with an ocular thing that causes him to see like security cameras in the third person, so he can just see everybody's cards because his field of view is not like his head.
Fuck this.
And the way the Lie Eater, our lovely Baku realizes this is he like goes up to him at one point because like he has a view of the room like sort of like CCTV footage, by which I mean like it sort of moves presence, like it moves around the room. And at one point he like just gets up into his face and he can't react, and that's like when he identifies like, oh, this guy has a blind spot and this shit's on a timer.
Fucking Christ.
Yeah, so like that's what I mean, like the stakes are. So it's like the games are not like real games to begin with. Like they're already starting from a point of insanity. And then it's a game of, based on that escalation, people are cheating.
Hell yeah. This sounds a lot like Kaiji, except how high are the stakes? Like what's something that's on the line in this? Because in Kaiji it really is just like, well, Kaiji is going to be a slave forever. He might continue to be a gambling slave, but then he might eventually just be a labor slave or a sex slave if he loses at the bet. And all of his friends lose at bets every once in a while and then never come back. Like that. Well, that's why I had to drop it. But is it a little less intense in this?
Oh, it's more.
Oh,
okay.
fuck.
So you know the guy who had a virtual boy installed in his head so he could see everything?
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing this to bring violent revolution. So like he's doing these gambles just to get like a war chest, and like literally like as he's doing these gambles, he's got like guys on the phone that are like ready to like blow up population centers. They're like, once that money comes through, we're good to go.
Okay, well, I would argue that that's lower stakes. It's just a bet about money. What he's gonna do with the money is fucked for sure, but it's not like fucking if he loses, he's gonna get like sold to the Saudis.
The other fun thing about this is any excess debt you have, your body just like gets converted into whatever. Like they make an honest try. It's like your human body is worth this much for whatever reason. So if you bet in excess of that, they're like, well, time to start turning meat into coin.
Yeah, it's like I owe $1 million. Like, well, I only have 500,000. It's like, well, we need your liver.
Yep. The art is all over the place. There's some truly fucked up faces in this. I have read that the art gets better as it goes on. Honestly, I kind of hope it doesn't. I have this one panel saved where our main boy is gambling, and he says, "This is fun," and it is the most deranged. It looks like he shoved his tongue through his teeth with such force that they popped out like chiclets.
And that's fun to him?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
he's so excited.
I mean, I don't know about gambling. Apparently a lot of guys gamble. I don't see the appeal. So maybe that tooth shit is just like, if you like gambling, you love shooting your teeth out with your tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah, different strokes, I guess.
So I'm guessing One Piece is probably still your bag. You haven't fallen and hidden your head, so I don't know why that would change.
Yeah, it's still it's the one I read every week.
So when I read it, Zoro was in cast. So is that still happening?
Yeah, unfortunately, to my great chagrin, the thing that you constantly say, which is that like, oh yeah, Zoro, his one character trait is that he's always in a cast, and I'm like, no.
He's Zoro, the legendary mummy swordsman.
Yeah, he's an Egyptian mummy. He comes from Egypt. Egypt's real. It's the one real country that shows up in One Piece world because mummies come from there. But there's been a raid on one of the 4 Emperors of the Seas base that's been going on for like 50 fucking chapters now. And Zoro has been doing some hero shit up on the top, tanking attacks from 2 of the strongest people in the world. And the result of that is that every bone in his body is broken, and he was put in a huge cast where he looks like a big T. He's just T-posing in a huge, huge mass of bandages. And when I saw that, I'm like, fuck, Joe's right again. It proved Joe right.
The beginning is so funny because it's just you establish that you have this cool swordsman, and then he like never gets out of first gear for what feels like hours.
Well, I can assure you, Zoro does much cool shit. And before he got all of his bones broken in this arc, he was doing very cool shit as well. But One Piece kicks ass. What can I say? I'm not going to get into like the plot right now because it would involve me like sitting you down and be like, well, first, in order for you to understand the importance of what's happening now, you'll need the last 10 years of plot summarized to you. So I'm not going to get into that. Well, I will say there are a couple funny things going on in One Piece. One is that fucking cast shit. He looks like a big T, and Sanji got given him. Like Sanji was running around trying to get to another place. And I think, I forget who gave him to him. I think it was Trafalgar Law, user of the Op fruit, was like, hey, carry Zoro. He's hurt. And Sanji's like, what? But this guy, motherfucker's a big T. And he's just carrying him around. And everyone was like, is he going to hit bad guys with Zoro in a cast? And then the next chapter came out. And buddy, yes, he whacks people with them like a big club.
Good.
And during this, Zoro's only visible part is his face. His face is the only thing that's sticking out. And as he's being whacked into bad guys like a weapon, you can see that he is snoozing and has a bubble coming out of his nose in classic anime fashion. It's great. Also, what's incredible about One Piece currently, like right now, is, as I said, we're in the middle of this big raid on the enemy base, and it's been going on for a long time. Lots of twists and turns. There's like 5 floors, and then the roof, and like the fucking Straw Hats plus all of their allies are split up amongst all of these different floors, and people are constantly changing where they are, and also the enemies are constantly changing where they are, and you know who's fighting who, and everyone. Is so used to like the One Piece formula that they keep saying like, this is a chapter where they're just moving the pieces into place, and then the fights will begin. And they started saying that shit around like June of last year, and no like fights have occurred. And it's starting to dawn on people that like there's never gonna be like an on-screen like multiple chapters fight in One Piece ever again, because just like because like on the fucking base, they're in the raid right now, there's probably like 10 fucking fights happening simultaneously, and if you were to give 2 chapters to each of them, that would be 20 chapters of action that did not move the plot forward at all. And that's just not happening.
This is like when you're playing a Civ game and there are so many like military conflicts happening that every turn takes a year of real time, and you just like I don't care anymore.
Yeah, the difference is I care a lot. And also, I don't really give a shit about the One Piece fights that much to begin with. They were not...
But that's really what I mean. You want the resolution. Give me the implications for the politics.
Yeah. And, like, we do see... Oda is not, like, not giving us the treats. It's just that, like, instead of having 2 fucking chapters of fight, he's just like, here's 3 panels of dope shit. Okay, moving on. You got it, right? He won. Anyway... to be fair, though, and I usually don't praise the One Piece anime, but I've seen clips from the current arc, and I don't know what they've done to these poor animators. I guess they've added another set of chains on them, because, like, I gotta tell you, the action is, like, almost indistinguishable from the One Piece movies, and it's like a weekly anime. There was this one fucking clip that went viral recently that was an expansion of what was probably a page in the fucking manga, where Luffy and Law and Kid, who are these three badass pirates, show up right at the right time and destroy one of the enemy battleships using their powers. Now, in the manga, you see a panel each of the powers, and then the ship goes boom. This was like 2 fucking solid minutes of just animation stunting, and it's like, I can deal with this. Like, I'm down to have the manga not show fights if I can see clips of this shit on Twitter also. And then the plot also happens to be moving forward at the same time.
I like that the need for like new One Piece information, you're like, I can set the spectacle aside. I don't need it. I just need the facts.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I just need the status report.
Yeah.
Who's up? Who's down? Is that cast still on?
I will say, and I don't know if the follow through is going to hit on this very hard. It may or may not. And this might be a spoiler if you're a One Piece reader or watcher. I'm about to spoil something that happens, but it's going to be fine. Luffy's going to win because it's One Piece. So we've been used to, fights starting. We see 2 or 3 panels and they get cut away from, and then you don't see them again for chapters and chapters. This is how it's fucking been for the last year. It's normal now. And Luffy's fighting Kaido, who's the strongest guy in the world, the strongest living guy in the world right now. And the whole thing is that, like, Kaido can get hit and hit and hit, but it doesn't do any fucking damage to him. It doesn't matter. He's too fucking strong. He can tank anything. And Luffy finally exceeds his limits and is like, oh, I've unlocked a new use of my powers, and it finally is like making him bleed, and like the hits are actually counting, and he's like, I've got this. He does his classic Luffy pose, his classic, like, I'm turning this around, baby pose. I've done it. And we're like, hell yeah, fight time. Of course, no, it cuts away from it because we can't show any of the fights. It's never going to happen again. Sorry, folks. If you're reading One Piece and you think there's ever going to be a fight again, you're wrong. Anyway, then, like, we cut back a couple of chapters later, and Kaido is just alone on the top of the dome being like, damn it, I thought I was going to have a good fight. Turns out he was just an idiot. And then we see fucking Luffy, like, KO'd, falling into the sea, like, completely limp. And it's like, that was actually a good use of the cutaway, cut back. Because, like, apparently Luffy got rinsed while I wasn't watching. Oops. Kaido's strong.
I think that like, oh, wow, that really turned around quick is why I'm so addicted to the Kengan fucking series, because they have the momentum switches flawlessly change page to page, and like a fight feels like, it really feels like a tug of war, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't know how this is gonna go, truly.
Yeah. And like, there can be fights where at the end you're like, well, obviously this character was gonna win all along. When you look at it rationally, this was the only way. But like, during the fight, it really does feel like this could go either way. It's anyone's game. It's a masterful magic trick that they pull off over and over again.
Yeah, and Shamo, by comparison, is just a lot of, like, assault and, like, not cool karate facts.
Yeah. Anyway, Joe, I actually haven't been reading that much other manga because, and I've talked about this before, Manga Dex is down, and the way I read manga on my iPad is I use Manga Storm, which pulls from Manga Dex and presents the manga in a readable form where it shaves your last chapter red. Manga Dex got taken down by hackers. I think it's kind of back up, but Manga Storm won't recognize it, and I do not fucking know how to read manga on iOS, and no one will write a guide. Like, no, there's no guide to it. Everyone who's talking about it is from 2019, and they're referring to apps that have been removed from the App Store. I don't understand how to do it, so I've been sort of a manga drought. But let me tell you what I haven't read. I reread. I read a new thing and reread an old thing, and these are, Joe, these are the rarest of the rare. These are good American comics, and I tell you what, I'm gonna drop some true gems on you listeners. I think you're familiar with the first one I'm going to talk about, which is Orc Stain by James Stocco. You familiar with this?
Orc Stain is so fucking cool. It's a book about a completely dick-based economy.
Yeah, it's in the world. I'm gonna read the fucking blurb because the blurb is so fucking good. For a million millennia, the world has cracked and convulsed under the indomitable mob of the orc. Savage, bloodthirsty creatures, they are without number, staining nearly every corner of the globe. Yes, we're in an orc world. Orcs fucking suck, and they reproduce asexually. Their dicks are actually little mushrooms that like pop off when they reach maturity and shoot out spores that grow into new orcs. So there's no girl orcs, and they're all obsessed with their dicks, which they call granches. And they
Granches are money, dude.
yeah, when you get your dick cut off, there's a fucking end of one of the issues. There's like a little special where it shows them how they make the money. You cut the dick off and you cut it up into little discs, and then you like treat it with this batter, and then like the batter is like a resin that you bake and it gets hard, and you get little dick coins. And like the head of the dick gets like cut in half, and those are like dollar bills compared to the quarters of the dick coins. It's like 100% dick-based economy, and like that is part and parcel of the whole thing, which is the entire comic is insanely detailed, both in the art, which like James Stokoe is famous for his absurdly detailed art. If you just look at the cover of Orc Stain, your jaw will drop. You'll think, wow, this like...
Do you like detailed gross stuff?
Yeah. And you'll be like, wow, I wonder how the art on the normal pages is going to be. You know, they always go all out on the covers. It's the fucking same, dude. It's the same on every page. And everything is so just gross. The orcs are all so disgusting. Everything they make is so shitty because they're dumb as fuck. And like the orc, the designs of the orcs is they're not like big hulking brutes. They're sort of more goblinish, where they're like skinny and sharp and like ugly and little,
and kind of like fragile because they die easy.
They die so easy. And like, I'm just looking at the pages, and one thing that James Stokoe fucking does that blows my mind is that he's not just, you know, penciling and inking this art, which is absurdly detailed. There's like so much to the clothing, to the landscapes, to like the buildings, to like what people have on them, like their packs, and like where are they keeping their stuff. Every single fucking corner of this page has so much shit on it. I'm paging through it now, and I'm like, I'm takes a lot for me to not hoot. Like, I'm looking at one where they go through this building, they're going through a doorway into the building, and there's like an old monster's skull around the fucking door frame, and it's like such nothing, like it's a normal ass like tavern, but like this monster skull could like be like the centerpiece of like a metal album, but it's just a panel in the fucking book. It's incredible. I love it. But what I was getting at is that he didn't just fucking draw this shit. He also colors all of it himself. And his coloring is just this psychedelic, insane, like, gradients where, like, nothing is one color. Everything starts as one color and turns out, like, a completely different color. Our main guy, One Eye, like, his clothes is green. Like, his canonical color of his clothes are green. But, like, they also are, like, half purple. Just because, like, the coloring is nonsense. He just will change colors from thing to thing. And it looks so goddamn good. Like, I cannot... it's impossible for me to put into words how good this book looks. Every single page is a masterpiece that any other artist would give anything to draw just this one page. And this is a whole fucking book of them, dude. They're incredible. And also, all the orc technology is really gross. It's like nothing is made of metal. It's all like... weird,
bones.
Gross monsters, like goopy guys. Like,
no, it's the Flintstones thing.
Yes, except goopier. Like, there's one guy who's like the recon orc, and like he has like a pet monster that's like a little dumpy like flying thing that's like the shape of a baseball, and it has a huge eye and it flies around and has like insect legs, and it goes back to his fucking trainer, and he puts it in his mouth, and it's all drippy and gross, and like he can see what it saw, and like there's also the Orc Tsar, which is like the main antagonist, is like the only orc who's ever been smart, and like everyone's like, an orc could never start a country and start a nation and start an empire because orcs are too dumb. They will fight amongst each other and constantly just be a rabbling mob, and like he's the only smart orc. And the way that they fucking communicate over distances is they have orcs that are marionettes. They're like on strings, and the strings like stretch for miles on fucking like telephone poles, and they taught the marionette orc like a fucking. And you just have to pick this up because they don't explain it; they just show it, and you have to know like what's happening. They teach the marionette orc a way to communicate using movements instead of talking. So they just say to the orc on the marionette strings what they want to communicate. He does a little dance. The fucking miles away, there's another marionette orc who does the same dance, and a translator there tells the orc czar what got said. And the fucking orcs from his faction are so weird and gross because they're much bigger than the other orcs, and they are wearing these huge billowing cloaks, and when they shoot out their arms, they're extremely long and thin and like can stretch incredible distances. And like when they fight normal orcs, they can just like squeeze their heads and pop them off. And our hero One Eye kicks ass because he's also a smart orc, but he's like from the rabble. He doesn't know about the orc czar, and his thing is that he's able to notice the weaknesses in things and hit them with his special hammer that he always has with him, and they break. And he kicks ass, and the orc czar is trying to find him because a seer told him that a one-eyed orc would be the one that stood in the way of his empire. And it's so fucking cool. And now here's the part where I get to the turn. And it's not like, turns out it's sexist or something. No, the fucking book is incredible. It's without flaw and perfect, and I love it. The turn is that if you look at the spine of the book, there's a big 1, as though there was ever going to be a 2. There ain't no 2.
We'll never get closure.
Not even we'll never get closure, dude. Like, at the end of Volume 1, One Eye has sort of had his little introductory adventure in the orc town to teach us who he is and how cool he is. Isn't he a nice guy? He meets the secondary protagonist, Bowie the Poison Thrower, who is like one of the few women who like lives in the world, and she knows about poisons and shit and hates orcs. And she's like, I don't want to help him, but she's gonna help him. And then they get captured by agents of the orc czar and are taken to his like fucking remote base and are captured. And then the book ends. So it's not even that we don't get closure. We have barely started. Like, we don't get opener.
Because like what's clear is in that base there we're gonna do a tournament.
Yeah, dude. There's going to be a big tournament. Like, they're in a weird, yucky... Like, the base is a yucky, huge monster the size of a fucking, like, entire mountain. And it's only by, like, the disgusting poison science of the Orc Czar's scientists that they're able to, like, keep it sedated enough that they're allowed to use its insides as a base. And, like, Bowie, the poison thrower, sees this and is like, well, I've never seen an orc use poisons before. It's too intelligent for them. This is odd. And, like... One Eye is like, I can't find the weakness in this structure. This beast is perfect. How am I going to get out? And then, like, an orc that he cut the dick off of back in his introductory adventure, like, shows up as well. And he's like, I'm in this place too, and I'll kill you. And then a fucking huge riot starts. And it's like, there's going to be a tournament. There's going to be fights. He's going to fight the monsters. And then it just stops, dude. It just stops. Because here's what happened. James Stokoe made the fatal error of deciding to be a comic artist. He shouldn't have done that, because that's an impossible thing to do and actually do well and do in a creatively fulfilling way and also make money.
Do you think no one told him that, like, usually a separate person does the coloring?
I don't know, dude. I mean, like, I'm glad no one else did it, because I usually hate coloring in American comics. Like, I think that it should be black and white. Like, I've seen every fucking superhero comic I've read. It would be better in black and white. The coloring is usually so garish and ugly. This is, like, beautiful and incredible. I'm glad he did it. And he does it for all of his fucking books. He every book he's done, he does everything you see himself. There's no team. It's always just him. And so that's his first error. Why would you do that? Why would you ever also introduce a new IP, a new series? There's no superheroes in this. Why would anyone buy that? And no one did. No one fucking bought Orc Stain. It sold abysmally. There are 5 issues in this fucking book. There are 2 issues that came out in floppy versions that I haven't read, and they were never fucking collected anywhere. And then I believe in 2019 on his Patreon, James Stokoe was like, by the way, here's 30 more Orc Stain pages I was working on. And that's it, and it's never been brought up again. Most of his other work has been like licensed stuff. Like he did a Godzilla comic, Godzilla the Half Century War, which I will say is fucking incredible and probably my favorite piece of Godzilla media ever, bar none.
He's really detailed with that Godzilla fellow.
Yeah, Godzilla big as shit, dude. He did an Aliens comic, like Aliens, like the fucking, the ones with the big dick heads, the H.R. Geiger ones from the movie. I heard that one wasn't as good. He did a fucking issue of Godzilla in Hell, which was this like collaborative series, which I didn't like very much.
What? Why was he down there?
He just showed up. He died and was in Hell and like fought Hell. I think at the end he like beat Hell and was reborn.
You're giving me a lot of new stuff to be scared about right now.
Yeah, and then like I think he did like a short comic about Sobek, the Egyptian crocodile god, but like I don't know, it's all good. I'm not gonna say it's bad, but Orc Stain is the best, and there ain't gonna be any more. And it's just such an indictment of everything about the fucking world, about America, about American comics, that this series, which is one of the best things I've ever seen,
dick-based,
just fucking fizzled. Dick-based. It's dick-based, dude. A dick-based series about orcs that looks badass and is cool, and it's just like the world looks at this fucking masterpiece and just says, no, rejected, fuck you, make Iron Man quip. It's disgusting. I hate it.
No, bring back regular money.
Anyway, Joe, I got another one, though. I got another book. I put the Orc Stain book down. I've got nothing more to say about it. Read it. And I picked up another book. Oh, this one's pretty good. This one, my wife read this one, and she's like, you better read this. And I'm like, I'll get around to it. And then a couple of years went by. And then I finally read it. And it turns out my wife's a genius. She was right, and this comic that I'm about to describe to you is incredible and just a masterpiece. It is called The Marquis by Guy Davis.
You kept saying you were reading this, and I didn't. I like. You should have seen my Google image search. It was like Marquis tournament, Marquis anime. I didn't know what the fuck you were talking about.
Sorry, dude. No, okay, The Marquis by Guy Davis. Now, this motherfucker, I don't know what Guy Davis has done. I know that like there's a ton of like comic artists, like fucking Mike Mignola did the foreword. Like a lot of people know about him and say like Guy Davis is one of the best. Just an absolute master of his craft. And I'll tell you what. Yes. That's a check mark. That's a bingo. He is incredible. So this is a black and white comic, like a manga, and I'm gonna say two things which are gonna sound like they're not compatible, but they are. One, all of the art is extremely sketchy. All of the lines are very thin, and it's very rare that there's going to be one line that like continues for the entire length of whatever it's drawing. It's going to be a lot of little lines stitched together, making a sort of like it means that nothing looks sort of clear. Nothing sort of looks.
Did you ever read From Hell? It sounds like what you're describing is like the From Hell look.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't read From Hell, but I now that you mention it, I remember seeing it. And I think it's very close to that. So that's the truth. And then the other part is that the artist's fucking incredible, and it makes this whole world that he's developed for the Marquis character feel so fucking real and lived in, and like because part of it is. This whole the world is this like this weird alternate, like it sort of looks like Vienna in like a Baroque period. All the buildings are huge and like cathedral-esque and absurdly detailed, but the details are also like sketchy, so it like seems like it's sort of hazy in the background, like it's not something that's taking center stage. It's just like part of the life that occurs here, not something that you would like take major note of if you were one of them. And God, also everyone's clothes are so fucking cool because everyone's got old ass ruffles. They got tricorn hats, dude. Everyone's wearing fucking masks, like plague masks, and like, it's so cool. Like just looking at this it's a incredible piece of work because it takes a really good artist to have art that is so sort of like sketchy. There's no sort of like bold single lines. There's no clear shapes. It's all so sort of fuzzy. But to take that and make it really, really work is just it's a treat to see. And now that I've gotten past what it fucking looks like, I'm going to tell you what it's about. So this shit is so cool. Like I read this twice and I'm just like, this is the coolest fucking shit. I love this so much. So it's set in this world in the past where there is a church which has utter and total control of pretty much the entire world. It has, through brutal inquisitions in the past, became the central and only authority in the world. And its whole thing is that the devil is real. Hell is real.
Okay. Yeah.
And sin is not caused by free will. If you say that you can choose to sin, that is heresy and a sin. Sin is caused by devils coming into the world and influencing you.
I'm hearing facts. I'm hearing yes.
Yeah. So if you do any sin, you have to be inquisited. You are taken by the church and you are tortured. Either you repent, you say, yes, a devil got me, a devil made me do it, or you die. And our hero is Voldegal, who is an old man. Like, this is a very unusual thing. Like, this is an action series, and he's like, I'm going to say like 60, and he is a retired inquisitor, and he starts the series sort of praying to the saint, like the main saint of this faith, that like, I'm starting to feel doubt. Like, I've done so much inquisiting, and I know that it's heresy to say that someone could sin for reasons other than, you know, a devil made them do it. But like, I've seen so much, and there's so many people who I doubt that it was caused by a devil. Like, I think I was wrong to punish them like that. Please show me the light. And he is given a mask, because like the people wear masks because there is a confessional that you are allowed to go to purge yourself of your sins before they, you know, cause you to act. And fucking Voldegal doesn't know what this is because people who work for the Inquisition are not allowed to go to it. So he only like goes to see this after, and it like adds to his doubt, because what it is basically just a big fuck house where you're allowed to do anything, and there's no it's purge world. You get to go there and you do the purge and you do all your sinning, and you have to wear a mask when you go so that no one knows it was you, and then you leave, and then you're like, I got the devil's influence out of me. And he goes and he sees that and he's like, well, this is also fucked. That's obviously just something that's bred in circuses to mollify the people. Something's fucked about this society. And he gets this magical mask, the Marquis mask, which looks badass and has a huge nose. And he puts it on, and when he puts on the Marquis mask, he can see devils in the real world. And sometimes people are possessed by devils. Turns out the church is right about that one part. And when he sees the devils know they are being seen by him, and they all immediately know you're the Marquis. And he is given by this extra. He sees the Marquis in his mind's eye, and it's like, you are now the servant of the faith. Here, take these weapons. And he gets a sword, and he gets 2 fucking minigun pistols that are the most badass things that you've ever seen, because they're like old-timey, like Baroque 18th century pistols that are also miniguns, dude.
Does he reload them, or do they just go?
They just go. They're divine, dude. They're not real.
Okay.
They come from God.
Okay, like how Preacher had the Saint of Killers had like what 2 pistols that were melted down from like the sword of Michael, and they were 2 Colts that never run out of bullets.
It's exactly that. He's the Saint of Killers. He is the weapon of God to destroy the devils. And the devils kick ass because they look like normal. Because to everyone else, they look like fucking normal people. And then when he puts on the mask, he can see that they're devils and they're fucked up. And once they know that shit's on and the Marquis is here, they transform into hideous forms that are very gross and look so goddamned cool. Like, there's one guy, this is just a fucking throwaway fight that we don't even really see, where he's in like a guy's drawing room, and the guy has mutated into like a big globby worm, where his head is just like the top part of a skull, the jaw's fallen off, and he has like one weird knobby arm coming off on the right, no arm on the left, and elbow is in a fucked place, and you can see the flesh sort of twisting around it like it's being pulled in the wrong way by this mutated fucking bone growth, and it's got 3 big hooks on the end, and then fucking the Marquis shoots him with his guns and then cuts his heart out with the sword, and it looks badass, and then he lights him on fire, and then it's like it was a fake out. Out from the fucking cut in the heart comes a littler Uki guy whose dick is out, and then the Marquis cuts his head off. Shit like that is like how is the norm. Just the most cool shit you've ever seen, and you love it. And here's the fun part, because when he's done, all that's left to the naked eye without the Marquis mask is a normal human's corpse that has been shot a bunch of times and cut with a sword. So everyone in the fucking Inquisition is like, holy shit, a murderer. A murderer did this, and only way that anyone could commit murder is a devil made them do it. So a devil's on the loose. Whoever did this is a devil. And so they think the Marquis is evil, and like he can't stop because this is a mission from God. He knows he has to keep doing this. But also the church is like, our number one priority is catching this vile killer. He is the worst guy. He is a devil. And meanwhile, there is also like this intrigue going on between the head of the church, like the archbishop, and the head of like the military arm of the church, who like is actually going out and like trying to find people and find the Marquis, where it is very clear that the head of the military does not actually believe in the devils. He does believe, because he's been in war, he knows that you can choose to sin. And so he also he's rubbing up against this archbishop who is a true believer, who believes it with 100% faith. And you know that's going to turn into something, because like part of it is he can't fucking find the Marquis, because the Marquis has divine powers, and like he disappears. And also like if you try to catch him, he'll kill you with a sword. So like the archbishop is like, if you are a soldier of the faith and believe, you will catch him. So the fact that you haven't caught them tells me a lot, General. Like, what is that? What do you say to this? And that's really interesting. And then, Joe, I'm gonna tell you the fucking thing that blew my goddamn mind. And I'm not gonna say this is a spoiler, because this is like setting up an action hero. This is like origin story stuff. This is like, if I said that Batman's parents died, that's a spoiler. No, it's normal. Like, you need to know this to understand what kind of series this is, and like what the action is, and like what the character is. The Marquis eventually meets another Marquis who, when he opens up his trench coat, his body is just a bunch of ghosts, and he's like, you don't want to be a Marquis. It's not what you think. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'll show you. And he pulls him over the edge of the bridge, and they fall in the ice. At the time, they were being pursued by the military. And they're like, well, the Marquis died, because no one could survive that. Except that the Marquis does not die. Instead, he fucking goes to hell. And I told you this whole series was in black and white. And this is one of the most badass uses of color I've ever seen. When it happened, I gasped, because the Marquis is nude in the void. His cloak is gone, his hat is gone, his mask is gone, his weapons are gone. He's a nude old dude in the blackness of void. And he's like, where am I? Who's here? And he's just walking along, and you start to see that the fucking background is starting to get red. And you're like, oh my God.
That's the devil's color.
He gets close, he turns around, and just in the distance, there are 2 glowing red eyes. And he gets closer and closer. And then all of a sudden, we're in hell. Everything is red and horrifying except the Marquis. The Marquis is still in black and white. And then, Joe, this fucking reveal, it killed me. I couldn't believe it. We see the devil, and the devil's design in this fucking comic is one of the best things I've seen, just period. Like, things I've seen. So what it is, I'm going to tell you right now, because I'm looking at it right now, and it's incredible. So we see a big, giant horse, where the neck and skull are without flesh and skin, just skeletons. It has a million fucking titties hanging down on below. Instead of having hooves, it has big, long, gross, fingery hands. Instead of having a tail, it has a bunch of yucky fucking tentacles. It has a huge dick and balls hanging down from it. And then instead of an asshole, it has the devil's face.
Let me put it in chat. I gotta see this face.
1 second.
Yeah, okay. When I say the devil, I meant this.
Yeah,
this
dude.
This is it.
Like when the devil sits down to talk, it has to like curl up the skeletal horse head and like a fucking tail so it doesn't sit on it. And when it sits down, the dick and balls of the horse form like a fucking ascot and tie, but it's the dick and balls under the face, and the fucking tentacles become its hair. And
I don't think man was supposed to draw. Like I think painting bison on cave walls led to this. This is so fucked
good.
up.
And here's the fucking reveal, dude. The devil is just like, hello, I am the devil. The Marquis, you are my servant. There is no God. There are no saints. There is only me. The only thing I want is for all the sinners to be in hell so I can torment them. Some devils escape from hell. I fucking hate that. I want you to kill them so they get sent back to hell so I can torment them more. And he's like, no, oh my God, my entire faith is destroyed. I reject your Marquis title. I will not be the Marquis. And the devil is like, that's fine. I will simply kill all humans, and then I will sort out which ones were devils and which were humans. And he's like, fuck, I guess I'll still be the Marquis then. And he gets sent back to the real world knowing that every single thing the church believes in other than devils are real is fucking fake, that every single inquisition he did was completely unnecessary, that the entire world is utterly fucked, and he's going to have to keep killing devils forever. And then there are like 2 one-shots after that where like there's a really badass specific devil. Like there's one devil that can like switch hosts and is really fast. So the Marquis is accidentally having to like kill person after person, and he can't get the last hit in before the devil escapes and possesses someone else. And that was pretty good. And there's one about like the courtesan of hell, which I forget what her deal is, but she looks fucking badass when she transforms into a monster. Holy shit, dude. I think she like seduces other devils and kills them because
is she covered in titties?
Oh yeah, she's covered in titties, like an innumerable amount. But also like her shape is fucked. Like something like the silhouette is like so wrong in a very intentional way. Like it looks painful for the creature to be like upright. It's so good, dude. And here's the thing. Here's the turn. And it's not a turn like, oh, the series is actually sexist. It's fucking perfect. It's without flaw. It's one of the best things I've ever read. The turn is there's a 1 on the spine, as though there was ever going to be a 2.
Man. Okay.
There ain't no goddamn 2.
All right. Nothing. Wow. Just stop liking stuff, because like it doesn't work out.
There's 2 options when there's a comic you like. You have the artist work so hard that eventually their heart explodes like fucking Kentaro Miura,
right.
and they die.
Mm-hmm. And go to heaven.
Yeah, he was the first one. Or you just stop doing the comic because of the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the only 2 fucking options. I really wish I could stop liking this shit, but it's just so goddamn good. Like the Marquis is such a fucking cool world where there's so many interesting scenarios set up in such a short time, and it feels like this character is like it's strong enough that this could be like a long running like hero. Like the Marquis could be like Hellboy, where like just fucking trade after trade after trade after trade.
There's enough meat there for it to be a fully fleshed out weekly adventure if it were so.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Guy Davis find out that he makes so much more money doing concept art for movies, and that's all he does now. And I looked at his Twitter trying to see anything about the Marquis. Dark Horse Comics did say that they were going to do another trade. It never happened. It never got published. It got an ISBN number, but it never got published. And every time anyone says anything about the Marquis on Twitter, Guy Davis replies like, hey, cool, glad you liked it. And I'm like, yeah, I liked it. Is there going to be more? And he's like, fuck no. Why would there be more? Are you kidding me? I make way more money working with Guillermo del Toro, making monsters for movies. And, like, I can't fault him because he makes dope monsters for the movies. But
Yeah. Also, it's concept work. Like, they don't even have to use the full idea.
yeah.
I do want to address something that came up during this conversation that I don't want it to slip by. You agreed with me that From Hell was like really squiggly and sketchy and hard to read. I'm looking at it now on the Google. This is fine. This is I think this is an example of the Mandela effect.
I mean, I never said it was hard to see. I never read it, so I fucking wouldn't be able to say it one way or the other. But let me...
No, so when I misremember something, that's the Mandela effect.
Oh, yeah. I think, okay, I'm looking at some panels. I'm looking at some fucking panels From Hell right now. The Marquis is markedly fuzzier than this. But it's, like, on purpose, and, like, he knows what he's doing so that it works. Like...
You also have that color trick.
Yeah.
That obviously doesn't happen in From Hell.
The color trick is so fucking good, dude. When you see it happen... Again, I gasped. Oh my god, it's so good. And like when you first started reading this, I saw the art style. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be one of those fucking things where like I can't follow the action because like it's just a big mess. And I'm like, this is just a mess of fucking black and white squiggles. I have no idea what's happening. No, the action is so clear and so interesting and so fun, and there's so much like energy in all these panels, and you can follow it very easily. This is like a master illustrator working on an incredibly interesting and unique setting and character. And it's just like the world, again, looks at this masterpiece and says, failure, make a picture for a movie. Hate it. Comics sucks. I mean, everyone who draws comics is like, comics sucks and hurts me so much and kills me and makes me miserable. I don't even do that. All I do is read comics and they hurt me so much and make me miserable.
Yeah, because in order to enjoy comics, you have to like enjoy the fruit of the labor of the most pained profession.
Yeah, and like, like the fucking manifestation of a pained profession person getting to take a break is there's no more of the thing you like.
Yeah.
I don't like it. That's what I got. That's all I got. That's all I've been reading. Oh, this is a good episode. I think this is fun.
God, Shamo's really bad. There's a lot of dark karate in that shit.
Stop crunching nuts, dude. Too much nuts.
Like, I've been talking with the board, and they are not crazy about the nut crunching.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, an Anime Sicko.
I am Joe, an Anime Sicko.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.